Eden, what are we here to do today?
Well, other than take a break from my kids, we are here to recap our very first episode of The Middle, Season 1, Episode 1, The Pilot.
And should we also interview the star of the show and America's Favorite Mom, Patricia Heaton?
Absolutely. And crazy idea, but what if we also answered questions from some loyal fans?
I'm really into that, but we should probably stretch first.
Absolutely. Let's foam roll, let's get some lunges in, and then let's get to middling.
Welcome to Middling with Eden and Brock, where Eden and I break down an episode of The Middle each week.
Now, listen, I may have acted in them, but have I seen these episodes? No. But do I remember these episodes? Also, no.
And during this rewatch podcast, we would love for you to watch along with us. And where can they find them, Eden?
Funny you should ask. If you live in the United States, all episodes of The Middle are available now on Peacock.
Yes, they are. And we have a Patreon that we're launching as well. We'll give you all the details on that at the end of the episode. We have extra content, video footage, exclusive events, all the things. But we'll give you all those details at the end of the episode. But Eden, I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How are you? What's new? What's happening? How are the children?
I'm good. The kids are good. The kids are fine. I'm a little bit tired, as you know. I am touring my one-woman show right now, as you really know, Brock, because we've been trying to get this together. Our schedules have been a hot mess. So I'm tired, but honestly, this is a welcomed respite. I love.
Good. Where's your next city?
I'm going to Philadelphia. I'm going to be in Philly end of May. I still have tickets for my added show because the first one sold out very fast.
Ooh, of course it did.
Yeah, but I just realized by the time this airs, there probably won't be any tickets because it probably will have happened. But yeah, I'm just like trying to get some sleep. My kids are being very, very funny. They're obsessed with tushies now, with Tertiis.
Okay.
They call them Tertiis. Because they say everything.
Them and me both. I like a tushy too.
They're still obsessed with you also.
Okay, great. I'll take that.
We were texting earlier, making sure we were on time for today. And they were like, who are you texting? Brock. And my baby B, I call them baby A, baby B in life because that's what in twin speak, that's just like what you call. I mean, you call your kids by your names. But like if you have twins. You know what baby A and baby B mean. But
yes.
Baby B, the feisty one, asked, she grabbed for my phone. And she said, I want to see a FaceTime walk. And I was like, no, you need to go sleep.
Oh, they're so sweet. This past weekend, Cameron and I went to a wedding, which was so fun. We did it. Have you ever been to a Friday wedding?
No.
Okay,
Friday. Wait, what does that mean?
Like a wedding on a Friday. So instead of Saturday when like weddings usually are, it happened on a Friday. So, you're like working and you like have your normal day. But then by the time 2 p.m. hit on the Friday, I was like, I have to be in a suit and in downtown Los Angeles in like an hour and a half. Like, oh my God. But it was a blast because they're friends of Cameron's, but they were originally supposed to get married in June 2020. They had it like all planned out. And of course the pandemic. So what they ended up doing is they eloped in the desert. One of their friends officiated, just the two of them. And then 4 years later, they like had the wedding that they were always planning. And it has to be my favorite, if not one of my favorite weddings that I've been to, because it was so casual is the wrong word, but like easy, relaxed. They've been married. Like she wore this gorgeous like purple dress and everyone was funny and the reception was just easy and lighthearted and just like all the stress, at least from the two people getting married, it just felt like it had washed away because they had done it for 4 years. It was such a fun evening. I've never been to a wedding like that.
That is such a wonderfully refreshing, that's like comforting to hear because as you know, Nick, my husband, and I did the exact same thing. Or like we didn't elope, but we just had this like 12-person backyard wedding during COVID because our plan was for December 2020. So we just decided to do it. And we've been wanting to do that exact thing. We were like, we had a wonderful time, but we really did have a vision for what our wedding was going to be. And so we were like, you know what? We'll do it for our 5-year or whatever. And that makes so much sense that like it doesn't matter. We're already married. So now we can just have
Yes.
like the party part of it.
Yes, and, like,
Ugh,
even in
I
the
love that.
reception, it felt like a vow renewal, and they had their officiants there, and just, like, they love reality TV. They're both, like, industry people, but they love reality TV, and so one of their officiants to, like, end up their speech was like, "And now it's time to find out if love is truly blind." So, like, that was the tone of the wedding. Like, every single person who made speeches does comedy for a living, so it was just everyone was rolling. I didn't wear a tie. It got crazy.
Oh, you didn't wear a tie?
I didn't wear a tie. I wore bright, spring colors and no tie.
Ooh, that seems off brand for you, but I like it.
Thank you, thank you. I was trying something new. It was a Friday.
It was a Friday. You could do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly. Well, should we get into some middle minutes?
Sure. I mean, I could talk to you about our weekends forever, but let's do it.
This is episode 101, the pilot. Season 1, episode 1 is what 101 means. And this is Frankie Heck must do all she can to be her family's hero by helping Brick with the school project, cheering Sue on at show choir, and telling Axel to put on pants, all while trying to save her job by selling a car.
It was written by, obviously, the creators, Eileen Heisler and Deanne Helene. Pretty sure I'm saying her name right. I think so. Known her for over a decade, so probably should be. And it was directed by the fabulous Julianne Robinson, who directed only one additional episode. I didn't realize this. It was episode 512. I really thought it was like season 8.
Yeah,
But
she came in. I remember her coming in a lot later. I never met her, but I remember you guys raving about her, especially with what she did with the pilot.
she nailed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it was called The Carpool, but I just want to add Julianne Robinson, she only directed one other episode because she was off directing such things as the pilots of Bridgerton
Yes.
and just like
That tiny little
every
show.
that tiny little like needs some help, please, need some viewership, save Bridgerton. Yeah, no, she's brilliant. I seeing her, the way her career, the trajectory of her career, I cannot believe she did Our Little Pilot.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad she did because it's such a strong pilot. The
Yeah.
guest cast was Brian Doyle Murray as Mr. Ellert, the fabulous, hilarious Brian Doyle Murray, Patricia Belcher as Mrs. Reddig, Peter Brettmeyer as Pete, and Jeanette Miller and Frances Bay as Aunt Edie and Aunt Jenny. And fun fact, Amy Farrington as Gail, so the woman who steals the car, and Amy Farrington and Jen Ray, famously Nancy Donahue, they're best friends in real life and former roommates.
Shut up. Really?
I've been to their Christmas party many years. They call it Grinchmas, but like Amy Farrington, and then Jen Ray, who plays Nancy Donahue, and then their third roommate from back in the day, Matt. They do this Christmas party every year called Grinchmas, but like Amy and Jen are best friends in real life. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That's really crazy. Okay, so it aired on Wednesday, September 30th, 2009 at 8:30 p.m., 7:30 Central on ABC. I wonder what airs now on Wednesdays at ABC at 8:30. I wonder what took over. Is it
Probably The Bachelor or something.
oh, and there were 8.71 million viewers. Wow.
That's a lot.
That's not bad for a pilot.
For a network show, at least these days, compared to numbers that they get these days, those are really good numbers.
Yeah.
And so, fun fact, I went doing some research. We aired. It feels like such a, I don't know. To me, it's crazy. We started at the same year that Modern Family started, and also Glee. Remember those two shows were like such a phenomenon. We started the same years as that, and I think Modern Family was right after us, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But it feels insane that those huge shows that had like such a stamp in my mind of being such like cultural pillars, that we started the same year as them. How crazy is that?
We started the same year as Glee?
Yeah.
But I have
remember
such a
Glee did something
memory.
weird that they did the singular pilot in the spring, and then you waited all summer. They like got people excited. They did mall tours. I know that they did mall tours because I went to said mall tour.
Of course you did.
They did a
Why
little
wouldn't
like
you?
performance and a kickball change with the jazz hand, and then did like a meet and greet. And I went with a couple of friends, and I went and met the cast of Glee because they aired the pilot, then they had the summer, and then they picked up in the fall, like the same year that we started.
That makes sense too, because I was gonna say, I was like, I moved out of my house. I remember I moved out of my house like when I was 18. I got like a little apartment, but I have such a vivid memory of watching Glee in my like childhood bedroom, like in
Yes.
my bed at my mom's house. And that makes sense because in the spring, I must have just, my memory is just of watching the pilot. And I
Mm.
was still in my house in the spring. The top movie of the week was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and the top song of the week was I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas, which
Do you
I
remember that song?
remember. Yes, of course. I got a feeling.
Uh, uh.
Ooh, that tonight. Yes, of course, because God, this is bringing back so many memories. It's crazy. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, I remember we had a bit. I don't remember what it was, but Neil came up with some bit. It was a runner on set for like months and months and months because I think he didn't understand. Or maybe he did a voice in Cloudy with a Chance of
Oh,
Meatballs.
did he?
Yeah. And then I got a feeling, yeah, that was when mashups were a thing. Remember mashups for like a
Yes.
hot sec?
Oh, yes.
And
Because
it
of
was in
Glee.
a
I'm
like
pretty sure that's because of Glee. They loved the mashup. They like created or at least made it popular.
wow, all comes full circle.
Okay, so that was the middle minutes. And when we come back, we're going to divulge and break into and talk all about season 1, episode 1, the pilot.
I have so much to say. I'm very excited.
So the pilot, I watched it last night. What a time capsule.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. I cannot believe it really this is a meme in our lives that we know that I have not seen any episode past season 2. I've
Yeah.
not seen any episode past season 2. I stopped watching. I couldn't like watch myself on TV because you can't expect a 19-year-old to watch, or even a 20-year-old to watch themselves and be like, I love it.
Right.
I love me. So I couldn't. But the first 2 seasons, yes, I have seen them, but I have not seen them in years, just years and years. I think the episodes in season 2, I have not seen since they aired. So watching this pilot that I had seen several times, and I remember the lines like they came back to me as they were happening.
Well, famously,
It
you
was
had to audition 10 times with those lines.
famously a million times, so I could probably still do them now. But yeah, it was really it was seeing it in a new light because the last time I watched it, I think we were still filming.
Mm.
So I was like, "Oh wow, I was so young." But now having so much distance from the show, it was nuts. It was really really bizarre.
First impressions, it's freaking funny.
It mo-
The pilot is funny. Because a
it
lot of
did it
shows, sometimes the pilot needs to find its footing. But this pilot, I think we evolved a little bit tonally with the show. But regardless, the pilot is hilarious. I always remember one of the first jokes when, so like right when the episode starts, Patty's in her superhero costume. She's like looking for reception, and her voiceover starts talking about Orson, Indiana. The one I remember the most, and I laughed just as hard as I remember when I watched it the first time, is the flight attendant coming over and saying, "Now we're flying over the beautiful state of Indiana. If you want to look now," and then everyone just goes back to their newspaper reading on the plane. It's so funny to me.
Folks, right now we're flying over the great state of Indiana. If you'd like to take a look.
Well, look down next time, and you'll see us down here in the middle.
it was honestly funnier than I remember. It was like, again, maybe I was too close to it that I just like couldn't, because like I was just watching for me. I was like watching like but it had some jokes in there that were really I remember I had heard with the waffle, it's still frozen, lick it, it'll last longer. I feel like I'd heard that so many times, and it actually made me laugh this time. I like
Oh my
forgot.
gosh.
Maybe I have a new appreciation for it as a mom. I don't know, but it was Charlie was so funny in it.
Yeah,
Charlie
that
was
whole
so
first
funny
scene
in it.
where the first like real scene, after the flash forward of her being in the superhero costume, and you're in the Heck house and you meet all of the Hecks, so strong. I feel like a lot of like pilots sometimes they just like want to like tell you things. This actually showed us who everyone was. We saw Sue's demeanor. We saw Brick's weird quirkiness. We saw Charlie being just like the annoyed teenager and Frankie trying to keep it all together.
I think because this was their second round, I think they like like that thing of having to find their footing. I feel like they had a chance to sort of find their footing. This was kind of like recording the second episode or filming the second episode, so I think they had that advantage. But they did. You're right. I mean, there was some. I was gonna say like pilots are they do have to be so heavy with exposition, and I was like, yeah, it was crazy. Like we didn't have to. We really did show. I should say like we did have a narrator.
Of course,
We did have a narrator being
saying
like, here's this,
Sue
here's
auditions
that.
for everything. Yeah.
But it worked. I think because the show is so campy or so like, kind of cheeky, it's not, you forgive a lot. You know what? Anything is forgiven if you laugh. That's the truth
Yeah.
of it. That's all it is. You can do
Yeah.
anything. You can break the rules of anything if it's funny enough. And I think
Yeah.
it did. So, who cares if like, why is there a narrator? There doesn't need to be a narrator. It's like, who cares? It's funny.
Also, it's so smartly done where pilots, you always have to know, like, why are we dropping into like these people's lives right now? And so many times I feel like, again, they like smack you in the face of like, why here, why now? But what I loved what they did is they made a joke of it. It's like her getting the license where she's getting the wake up call where she had her O license where she looked fabulous and done to the heavens. And then she gets her new one and she looks like a train ran over her. But what they did so smartly is that they kept bringing back that license joke throughout the entirety of it, right? Like Ellert looks at it and makes a joke about it. And then when Gail steals the car, Patty's like, oh, that's probably not even her license. The picture's too good. So like, I don't know. It feels so relatable. Like everyone needs a new license. Everyone understands kind of what that is. But it just kind of sneaks in there and you're just dropped into the Heck's lives, which I love.
Yeah, you really are. I would like to say something about filming because, again, just like watching it and being like, oh my God, this little girl, this tiny little girl, this little
Yes.
child. I, we had talked about in the previous episode, you had asked me if I felt any pressure. If I felt any like pressure because it was the second time. And I was talking about how I just had like imposter syndrome kind of the whole time. Or I don't know if I maybe said that I didn't feel pressure. I think I was like, I didn't feel pressure because of, I don't know, because I didn't think it was going to get picked up. That is, rewatching this, I was just like filled with anxiety. I was like,
Really?
oh no, oh my God. Every single scene, I was so nervous filming. I was so nervous watching at night. Are you disappointed in me? I could not believe. I remember we did that so many times, and I was like, I'm gonna get fired. This is the pilot. They're gonna recast me. They're gonna recast me. They can't get it. I felt it in my bones that they were doing the
Oh my
thing
gosh.
of we got it, even though they did not have it. I like again felt it in my soul, and now like. I think they did have it, but I don't know. I can just tell I was every single scene. I remember, and everything was a first. Everything was a first. When I go like, Mom, the dryer ate my leg warmers, even though I had said that line, that scene I had done. That is one of the ones I had probably done 20 times because including
Sure.
the last, the original pilot audition, I did it so many times, and I just remember I yelled for Mom, and then they were like, you don't have to, we're just going to pick it up from you entering and we'll hold a boom. We'll get you just yelling Mom later. And I remember being like so confused. This wasn't even my first job. But I didn't realize I just was like, oh no, oh my God, I was doing something wrong. I can't believe I did that. They're going to have to.
Well, you overthink everything, especially when something is so high pressure and you want something. Nervousness, I think, is just only amplified when you want something so bad and you want it to succeed so badly. And so your mind just races a million miles a minute about everything.
Yeah.
Well, you did it wonderfully. Even that little one you just did right there, Mom, was perfect.
Mom! Hey, come in here if you want to talk to me. Axel, put some pants on here.
And then also seeing going into Frankie, going to Ellert for the first time, Brian Doyle Murray is hilarious. I remember the first time that I met him because he voices the Flying Dutchman on SpongeBob. And I was an avid SpongeBob watcher. Starstruck and just so incredibly funny and exactly felt like Orson, Indiana to me.
He was perfect. He was perfect. I only watched about 8 minutes of the original pilot because it's like leaked online, and I don't think I got to Ellert. I don't know who played Ellert in the original pilot.
It felt very real life. I mean, not that he did like a caricature, but like there was a point of view from Brian Doyle Murray where it was just like I understood exactly where he stood in Frankie's life and what his thoughts are about women in the workplace and
Yes.
about in like a very misogynistic, but also a lot is forgiven when you laugh. And I was laughing at
Yeah.
him the entire time.
I may not have sold a car yet, but I've come real close.
See that buck up there? He came real close to not being hit by a bullet. You see what I'm saying?
But no one is, that's the thing. It's a very tough line to walk when you can be like absolutely not on someone's side and also feel okay laughing. Like, you know, the point of view of the show isn't misogynistic.
Right.
And he just played it with such a light heart. The whole show had kind of such a light heart that you can get away with, and we got away with, I feel like a lot with anything and everything.
And then also something that I noticed, so many of the runners and the lasting jokes that were established in the pilot, like especially when you're sitting on the couch for dinner, the mom, Mike, Axel, yes. And the whisper to like that quirk was there from the get-go. And there was so many things where I was like, I can't believe that was established in the pilot.
What else was established? I had the exact same note when I was watching it. That's what I kept writing. I wrote it down like 3 times. I was like, I cannot believe that this runner was established in the pilot. I don't remember that at all. That is a crazy thing to have to really last through the whole series. Like even
in the
feat.
ending scene of the middle, when you guys are driving Axel to Denver, don't you have the mom, Mike, Axel something? Am I crazy?
Yes.
I think that was one of the ending moments.
Do. It's in the series finale. It is.
My God.
What?
Does it really matter what song you pick? Because there's no way you're going to make it.
Mom. Mike.
Axel.
But just that whole scene is so funny. Like, I always remember laughing at, like, we're going to eat dinner as a family. Jump cut to you watching Dancing with the Stars and chit-chatting during a commercial break.
Okay, that is another thing that I was so stressed about because I've talked about this before that that Eileen, Deanne, and Julianne did not know that my braces were fake because I went into the audition with my own fake braces and then I went to the fitting and I did not have braces and they all just like the blood drained from their body. But so because I was so nervous about everything. And so I was like, I kept my braces in the whole time, just while shooting, even during breaks. I just like kept them in. And I forgot how much we ate in the pilot. We were constantly eating. Yeah. And I could not eat with my braces. They're fake.
Yeah.
Like they're Invisalign. And so watching myself, I was just remembered like trying so hard not to bite, like not to take if you watch you can rewatch it and see that I never fully take a real bite.
I have to go watch. That's insane.
It's crazy. Or I tried to go, it's just like fake chew. And like now just thinking back, like I could have it was so easy to just be like, reset, like I gotta take out my braces or I gotta not have food or like shoot whatever. I didn't want to say anything, but we were eating a lot.
Oh, I made dinner. That was it. I made dinner was also part of it, where she drops a fast food bag, and that was throughout the show as well.
Which I do now. It's not quite the same. We don't do like fast food, but I will microwave something and be like, I made dinner.
Yeah. You did make it. You press those buttons. You press 200 start.
Absolutely, I did. Actually, I didn't. I just pressed 30 seconds twice or 4 times, but that's okay.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Something that I did notice that like eventually I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but petered out though, was in the pilot, the camera angles are a little bit more stylized and dramatic. So like it was really like severely like, I'm thinking of like you mentioned the scene where you're out in the backyard with Mike and Frankie. They have a really severe angle coming, down onto them and then an angle up towards you. Or even when Brick is saying, Mrs. Reddick, I have something funny to say, and he's tapping her boob, they have like a really severe under angle of her, which I feel was those are one of the things that didn't last. It felt very stylized and it worked, but eventually like I feel like as all shows do, they find their rhythm and then they like really find the pocket of it. And I feel like the pocket of it was not those severe camera angles.
No, it's definitely, that expression of like comedy lives in the wide.
Yeah.
Like you don't want a bunch of fancy camera moves. You don't need fancy camera angles. You want to just make it as simple as possible and have the entertainment sort of like come from, the acting and the interactions.
The monkeys in makeup and hair. Yeah.
But I watched and I was like, oh yeah, it's very fisheye. It's sort of fisheye lens. And that sort of made it seem stylized. And maybe they were trying to make it like even whiter than possible, or I don't know. But you're right that it gave such a specific tone that totally worked and you got it immediately. And then even just going to episode 2, it was like, oh, we didn't I guess we didn't
they kind of
need
dropped
it.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting. Like there were so many things established, but some of the things they tried and it didn't work, which is a case for a lot of pilots, mind you, where they just kind of see what works, see what doesn't work. And as long as it's funny, they give you a little bit of grace to, from audiences, from networks to kind of find your footing a little bit. And so then, we find out that Sue makes show choir, which that scene is always funny to me.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the squeal or something. Not or something. That was.
Thanks, Dad. All right, well, I better get my homework done because I am going to be so busy.
Looking back at I didn't think I thought my acting was way worse, I will say. I remember watching it after in season 8 or something and being like, oh my God, I really evolved. I really learned a lot about comedy, learned a lot about Sue, learned a lot about everything. And watching it now, I was like, oh, that was always in me. That was always there. Yeah, it did get better. It got more defined. But I didn't realize that Sue was really, I don't know, it made me reflect on myself. Oh, I always had that in me. That was me.
Yeah, you had a very specific point of view right from the beginning of, I think, who Sue was. I think, that's why you need a director or whoever to be like, we got it, and you just got to trust them. Because also, if they didn't have it, they'd make you do it again. And so you always had it right from the beginning.
Yeah. I remember in the script, it doesn't qualify. One of the descriptors of Sue, I'm pretty sure, isn't optimist. It's not ever optimist. It was profoundly average. That's what it was. It was super average, nothing special, but not upset about it. Just a sort of normal, average, again, profoundly average girl. And I don't remember the that element of it being part of it. And even again, watching just at least a little bit of that first pilot, it wasn't there. It wasn't the same. It seems like such a defining part of Sue, but I didn't realize all of the things that I was so self-conscious of in the pilot, where I was like, oh God, I'm being annoying. These parts of myself are annoying. Should I have smiled like that? Should I have been like that? Looking back, oh my fucking God. No, I did that. And then the character became what it was because of that. It was
also
weird
too,
to watch.
Thinking about it now, looking back, you can't have a show about just averageness and not have any bright spots. So I think that's why, to me, at least for me, why I connect to your character watching you, or why I think audiences love watching, is that like in this mundane, middle class, middle America kind of life, you need those rays of sunshine. So I love like, that's why it worked in the pilot. We had your bright optimism. We have Frankie trying to show up for her family. Like you need those little moments that are not just so mundane in order for something to really sing.
Yeah, totally. It's sort of like how you can't be like playing a sarcastic character is actually sorry, no, like in comedy, you can play a sarcastic character, but you can't play it sarcastically.
Correct.
Like you know what I'm saying? And you can't like you can have a character who likes irony, but you can't play it ironically. It's sort of like you can't if you're trying to make or like keeping energy. It's a low energy scene. It's like it's not a low energy scene because that's boring. You have to play the low energy, you know?
Yeah. It's
And
a
so it's
lot
the
of
same thing.
comedy is solved if you just do the scene, you're fine. If you're asking for the joke, that's when comedy dies.
Yes. And so if you're trying to play the joke of we're so average and we're just going to make this as average as possible, it's like it doesn't, you have to, it has to, like the vibe has to, the joke has to be, oh, we're so average, but it cannot be just an average show
Right.
or it cannot be, you know?
How was filming? Do you remember anything of when you actually filmed the show choir scene in the auditorium?
It was, I don't want to say tense, but it was because the choreography and everything was so specific. It was so hyper specific. They wanted to get all the right angles. That day lasted 25 hours.
Oh my gosh.
That day lasted 25 hours. They were so relieved to know that I at least was legal 18. Like they they had to shoot Atticus out real
Yeah.
quick. But that took forever. And the drop at the end, I forgot
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing, that's what happened. Like the big it fell. I didn't remember that until it was happening. And I remember there was so much pressure on that because we
Oh,
had one shot.
yeah. I mean, that's a huge setup. All the things are flying. That one girl's hanging from the rafters and swinging back and forth. But
Yeah.
it worked. It was so funny. But like also I can like step back from it and appreciate it's not just everyone collapse. It has to be this domino effect and captured in such a way that you see event to event happen. Because as a viewer, my eyes have to go from person to person and see that person crash, and then the huge like beam falls down, which then causes the girl to jump up and hang from the rafters, and it just and then you're standing in the center unscathed.
I truly I've never felt more I had never felt more like don't fuck up, 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 don't fuck up. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And like I'm pretty sure I like again, just this like I was right back in it, like so anxious. But it was I think that was some of the last stuff we actually did shoot. Other than I think the last day really was we went to Camarillo. We went to this little town in California to film the corn to film like when we pick Frankie up at the very end.
Mm.
I remember that was like the end of the episode was actually I think our last day of filming, and I forget it takes 5 days to film an episode of TV, but it's 7 days to shoot a pilot. So I forget we had so much extra time to really like make things happen. And like that day was also like all of our days were so long. And I think it could have been a disaster of a week had we not gotten along so well.
I
Like
mean, you
I
guys all had
remember,
chemistry right from the get-go, so that doesn't surprise me that you guys got along during those tense moments, because otherwise that would
yeah,
have been hell, and I think that would have bled onto camera as well if you were truly not getting along and letting the tenseness get to you.
totally. I remember after the pilot thinking like, oh, wow, I have a friend for life in Charlie.
Yeah.
I remember we
That's
got each other's
wonderful.
names. Yeah. We were like,
Oh my gosh.
and
What was do you
because
remember
we
what
didn't,
your name was?
my first like aim was Do You Green Day, which
Wait,
is
but
also,
did you Green Day? I have to know.
no, I didn't. That's why it was funny. But I do not remember. It changed. It definitely was, it changed. And it was something, punctuation. It was punctuation, I think. That is so upsetting.
Punctuation. That sounds like a
That's
word that would
so
be in
bad.
like Schoolhouse Rock or something like that. But speaking of that final kind of scene, I was surprised. Something, again, that I don't think would ever make it past the pilot was the use of the song "The Middle" by Jimmy Eat World, where it's just like there is not in any kind of way. They probably picked the song because the song is literally called "The Middle."
That's the only reason, for sure.
Yeah. But I was like, this song feels a little bit out of left field. I mean, I love the song, but I was just watching it now from us rewatching it, in 2024. I was like, it kind of gave me a little bit of whiplash. I was like, that's not the show that I remember. That feels a little not us.
No, not at all. Not
But
at all.
also something that I think in terms of like, you had the runners with the jokes, but something that was always there from the get-go. Granted, it was skimmed, but it was still there, were those heartwarming moments that I think differentiated us from a lot of different sitcoms, where you can have those kind of moments without getting too sappy or too like on the nose with it. It felt very heartwarming, which I think to me is such a staple of The Middle. And we definitely got that when they're giving Frankie the fast food and Charlie says, we made it, or, whatever. It brings it all kind of home in a really nice way that I think they just stuck the landing and nailed it right from the get-go.
I love you guys,
I know, Mom.
Hi. How come you never tell me you love me?
I told you I loved you the day I married you. If anything had changed, I'd let you know.
Yeah, I think so. I think that also has a lot to do with Patty. That really did, and Neil. But like, really, Patty. I think the biggest thing I learned from Patty, and this just as a note on kind of the whole series. Just this is like a more global acting note, but I could really see it in the pilot. It's kind of like speaks to what you're saying. I always think of comedy crying. And this is why. Like, I'm sorry, but this is why to do comedy well, it is harder than drama. It is absolutely harder than drama, because if you're playing the joke of it, it's false and it's bad. Like, it's not going to be funny. You have to play it so sincerely. So you do have to be actually really acting, but also it has to be funny. It has to be funny.
And it has to be in tone. There's like such a certain,
So like Patty really taught me how to actually have real sincere emotion, but you never forget that you're watching a comedy ever. So that's, I think, the thing you can get away with, the show got away with, or you can be heartwarming or sappy at the end, because it's not actually, there's still that tinge. It's 95% heart, it's real heart. Like, it's not fake heart, but it's under the umbrella. You never forget that it's a comedy. You never forget at any moment you're ready to laugh. You never like, oh, I guess this is the show now. It's a really tough line to walk. But comedy crying and comedy emotion. There were plenty of episodes where I remember some directors with other people just being like, I know this feels serious, but you're going a little too low. This is like, it is serious. It's not a joke, but it's like that you're not playing the joke, but you're like, you have to still maintain energy and also be authentically crying.
Exactly.
There's
a certain tone. It's like you can't jump genres, right? Like, you have to still feel like you live in the world of this show, which is why it's so completely tricky of like making sure that I believe you that you are actually affected as this character and you are hitting like your breaking point without it ever getting like a little too real, where you're like, oh God, their lives do really suck. I feel bad for them. Because if you ever jump, if the audience ever goes into that direction and they're feeling sorry for you, you've lost them. You're not watching a comedy anymore.
Totally. You can't. You really can't. Because at the end of the day, that's what comedy is. Like, it's a situational comedy. And the point of it is to put them in situations that are in the real world, stressful.
Yeah, of course.
Stressful and sometimes like bad, bad situations. And that's the point. That's the beauty. That's the point of comedy, is to like, it's a cathartic. You get to see the bad parts of your life and have someone be like, but also look how funny they are. But look at how ridiculous. This is the ridiculous of it.
Well, I thought it was the most fun to go back and watch that pilot. And when we come back, we're going to be interviewing 2-time Emmy Award winner, count them, 1, 2.
And she'll never let you forget it.
She'll never let you forget it. 2-time Emmy Award winner and Frankie Heck herself, Patricia Heaton. So stick around. We have a wonderful interview with her coming up.
Let's get started. Today we have a very, very, very special guest. Not only our first seminal, is that a word? No.
Inaugural
guest. My first teacher. I'm going to call her a teacher. This woman has been on your television screens for so many years. I was going to say almost as long as I've been alive, but actually longer. Because it's not just the first thing. Here we go. I'm going to, it's going to be because you read it in your little description.
Get comfy.
But she became a household name playing Deborah Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond for 9 seasons. And then she did something very, very few people in Hollywood do. She starred in another hit TV show for 9 seasons as Frankie Heck. On the middle. Just some housekeeping, gonna get this out of the way. Okay. Some of her first film roles include mega hits like Beethoven, which I remember. You were like the villain,
yes,
right?
Yes, me and David Duchovny.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, that was David Duchovny I was with.
Oh,
Go back and look.
I can't believe it. I only realized it was you, or I only knew it was you because we watched Raymond.
Right.
Yeah. And so my mom was like, that's the mom from Everybody Loves Raymond. Right. She was in Space Jam, which Brock was saying your credit was woman?
Yes.
One
woman. Scene.
Yeah.
I had just had my 3rd baby, Joe.
Wow.
Yeah, and but the other person, it was woman and husband, because the husband was Homer's voice on Dan.
Castanella.
Dan Castanella.
Yeah.
It was me and Dan for one scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, your other TV hits include Back to You, Carol's Second Act, and your own Food Network show, Patricia Heaton Parties.
Yes. Which you all were on.
We
which
were.
Brock and I were on.
Do you remember what you dressed as?
A unicorn.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. It was a Halloween party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She has been nominated for, get ready folks, 1 Critics' Choice Award, 2 Daytime Emmys, winning 2016, 12 SAG Awards, winning 2003, and 7 Primetime Emmy Awards, winning in 2 years, 2000 and 2001, which every person on the middle knows, because every time she would nail a take, she would look straight into the camera before they yelled cut and go, 2 Emmys. Right. And everyone said, yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you yourself can get a picture with her anytime if you want at 653 Hollywood Boulevard, where her star on the Walk of Fame shines as brightly as she does.
Oh, who wrote that?
Brock.
I did.
Like I said in the beginning, Patty is Patricia Heaton.
Yeah, Patricia Heaton.
Yeah.
I think in case you didn't know who we were talking about. Patricia Heaton, Frankie Heck herself.
My personal teacher. I say this about you all the time, but you taught me everything I know.
Okay, I have to disagree. You came in there fully formed as Sue Heck. All of you guys did, actually. All of you guys, and Charlie and Atticus. It was astonishing, the cast that we had. It was astonishing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, but also I don't think then you realize maybe I'm a better faker, or I'm a better secret student, just like secretly copying you.
Yes, okay.
Because I have such vivid memories of being, having no idea how to do, feeling like you have this talent, you have this thing that I learned, and now I get to be very smug about it when I see it not in other people. You are able to have such genuine emotion and still that never ever goes away. You can tell it you never forget that the goal is to make people laugh, because when you would get teary, or when it would be a moment that you really felt it on a deep level, you never felt, because when you watch a comedy and suddenly you're like, ooh, what am I watching?
And they jump genres.
Yeah.
You feel unsafe.
I like that. Genre jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you can just feel it in your bones, this is still lighthearted, or this is still a joke, or I'm still laughing. That is not easy, and that is not something I necessarily actually knew how to do. I do think you're either born with a funny gene or you're not.
I kind of agree with that, yeah.
You know, like you can hone it, but it's not, it's either there. You either get it or you don't. But I watched and I learned, and I watched how to memorize lines, to adapt to any situation, to adapt, to find the joke, I learned how to stand up for myself without being mean or a diva, to know when a joke is off, when to stand up, when to like say that joke's not working, and when to just be like, fine.
Yes.
I'll just do it. It's not my favorite. I don't know if it'll work.
Well, like to your first comment, it's a fine line, and this is really true what you said about jumping genres.
Right.
Because there's a fine line when you're crying where it leaps over into drama.
Well, the thing is with like, so your big first hit was Raymond, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole thing with Deborah, at least how it started out, is that there's always like Ray and her are fighting.
Yeah.
And that's where probably you got, I can imagine, the basis of knowing how to be able to straddle both,
yes,
right?
Yes, there was a crying thing in that where he realizes that my wedding ring was not a real diamond. He got it like fell off the back of a truck or something. And so he takes, I think the scenario is he takes it, he makes me think I lost it so that he can replace it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember then I get it back, I find it, and I have this scene like I'm so happy. I'm like crying happy. And then I look at it and I realize this is not the same ring, and it just morphs into what did you do?
Brilliant.
It's that kind of stuff, you know. It started back there at Raymond, yeah.
And this is exactly what I'm saying about your people use the word genius a lot, but I don't think people really appreciate how high an IQ a person has to have to do that.
I think it's emotional IQ. Like,
yes.
And also, and you observe people. You watch people. You know, I don't say this to many people, but when I was living in New York, I loved looking in people's windows at night.
Me too!
If you had an incident in New York back in the 80s, it was me.
You.
But you know, obviously I wouldn't just stand in front of a window and stare. But, you know, your apartments are also close to other people's apartments. And even if somebody was just sitting there drinking coffee, I just love to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and Meryl Streep said this, too. She said she used to, I'm sure she can't do this anymore for many years since she's so famous, but she used to just like to sitting on a park bench in New York and just watching people's behavior.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really cool. It's a good way to just read people in your life as to what's going on with them, but then it gives you reference points when you're creating something or when a moment comes up in a script.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I know what this is.
But then also the tricky thing is like you have to know what that emotion is, how to get it genuinely, but then also have the technique to know how to construct it from a storytelling perspective. Or like if you're gonna cry, that's where that laughter needs to hit, and that's what I need to do technically in order to make that happen.
And you're like a really good technician too, because I don't know if you remember the first time you were on the show.
I do.
And I remember exactly where you were standing. You were at the kitchen counter.
Yeah.
And you had done your thing a couple of times, and I went up to her and I said, "You're like theater trained."
Yes, you did.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, "You're really good. You're really good. Just keep doing what you're doing."
This is so sweet. I'll never forget it. It was my first day.
Was it your first day?
It was my first day.
Well, it's very rare. What you do is very rare.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So that does lead into what was the transition like from multicam to single cam? Were you worried? Had you, because you had, what was the show? 30 something?
Yeah.
Was that single cam?
That was single. It was my first big show where I was recurring as a doctor.
So yeah.
Yes.
So you, ooh.
Yeah.
Dr. Heaton.
Yeah. Yeah.
For people who don't know, multi-camera comedies, you work a couple hours a day for 5 days a week, and then you film probably 5 hours, 4 hours on a Friday night.
It's a little longer on the filming day, but it's rehearsing 4 days a week and filming on the 5th day normal. That's a kind of average. Sometimes it shifts.
And then single camera comedies, which is what the middle is.
And especially when you're starting it, that was
course.
frigging 14 to 17, 16 hours a day the first season.
So you knew you had
a
experience.
little bit, but I'm telling you, I was freaking out.
Well, because also you're number one
season.
on a call sheet
Yes,
too, so
for
everyone
the
is
first
looking
time.
to you for the
Yes.
first time. What's that like?
It's I didn't worry about like people looking to me for anything because I am always super professional. So I show up in time, know your lines, treat everybody kindly, particularly the crew, make sure they feel appreciated.
Yeah.
So that's always the way I've been. So you feel like, and then Eileen and Deanne, who created the show, they're like that too.
Yeah.
So you had good people at the top who want to appreciate everything. I think the guest stars that came on our show, you felt loved and appreciated, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's not always that way on shows.
Well, because especially you, I mean, of course, I told you this, I think, on my second episode. I owned every single episode of Raymond on DVD.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and I had a special case, and I just got rid of it when I moved about a couple years ago. I still had them in my DVD player. But, like, it was incredible that, like, the show hadn't aired yet on the middle when I first started working, and you were the only thing that I knew, and having you come into that table read, and you were like, oh my gosh, so good to see you. So nice to meet you. So excited to have you here. I was like, whoa, what an incredible experience. I can't believe that this is happening.
Well, I think our guest actors were all so amazing all the time. And I think I said it at one of our after parties one season that G always like brought in these incredible people to work. It makes such a difference when the guest actors are great and even the extras are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like the extras have to be good so that, people are really, nothing's seeming weird to the audience. Okay, I was like, I remember, now you're reminding me, the first day in the makeup trail, I was like, okay, so we go in and, when are we blocking? We'll call you in for blocking in a minute. And I'm thinking, okay, but then when do we rehearse? And I remember coming back from the blocking, it's almost giving me anxiety, making me choke up. I tell you, since I quit drinking 6 years ago, my emotions, they come flying out. Anyway, I just remember thinking, I want to say the F word, but I'm working on my personal holiness, so I'll just say,
wow, good for you.
we cannot say the same.
Yeah. This is a sailor podcast.
But I was like, there's no effing rehearsal.
Well, for someone who's so, like you said, so technical, likes everything planned out, that Catholic kind of, yeah.
Because I can't, but also Raymond was very rehearsal heavy. And we had to be off script. Let's say we started on a Tuesday, table read, rehearse. Thursday, rehearse. Like I think by camera blocking Friday, let's say, we were supposed to be completely off. And we got a letter from Phil Rosenthal, the creator, the beginning of every season saying, make sure you know your line. 9 years, we still got the same letter of,
wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. And so I remember how do I do this?
Yeah.
I can't do this. I don't, because for your listeners, our listeners here, I mean, my lines are connected to my business, which is like the move you're making, you're blocking, and I'm going to pick up this spoon when I say this line. Well, if you get to only do that 2 times, the first time when you're trying to figure out the blocking, and then the second time when the cameras come in to see where you're going to be doing those things, then you go back into the makeup trailer, finish your makeup, then you come back out. I was literally like, I can't do this. How do I see? That's how I memorize my lines. I connect it to the blocking. When you don't have time, when you don't have 3 days of connecting your lines to the blocking, when you have 2 times to connect it,
7 minutes total.
Yeah.
7 minutes. I was like, this is going to be impossible.
How did that change your prep going into it?
Well, I had not a minute of peace because I would go home from work and then I'd get those scripts and just memorize it, just sheer memorization, as opposed to memorizing connected to blocking or business. Oh my gosh! Now you're reminding me of how hard that first season was. So bloody hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, also too, like I'm sure, like you don't want to waste, like you're saying, if you also are living this other life as a mom, right, and you want to spend as much time with your kids, you don't want to waste your time, especially, but everyone's time trying to figure things out. If you want to be prepped, and we only have that limited amount of time for that blocking, if you want to call it that, or rehearsal process, that you want to be able to make sure that it's ready to go.
Right. And sometimes when I would be in the hair and makeup chair, this is a little bit later, but I would see you, and I would look over you, and it seemed to me you hadn't really looked at these pages. Because you're like, and I'm like, okay, does she know memorize them at home? And then you go out there and like, boom, you had it 100%. I'm like, what hell?
Because I remember,
hell?
didn't you
She's
used
like
to
a
write?
witch. She's a witch.
You used to write the first letter, right, of each word, and that's how you'd memorize, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You do what? What do you do?
I just wrote the first like letter. It's of each physical line.
Of each, yeah.
Like not just the sentence, but like the line of like
Yes.
actual line. I know the first letter and I knew the first couple of letters,
Yes.
and that's how I do it. But it's so crazy to me that you were like, how did you do that? Because I was fucking copying you. I would see the way you marked up your script, and I started doing that. I would be like, I'd peek over at you and be like, oh, she's square. She put a square over that line. She put an arrow there.
Yes.
She underlined there. She bolded that one letter.
Yes.
Are you aware that you do that?
Yes, because I'm sort of visual. It helps me because I see the actual lines in my head. And so like the word look, if the word look is in a sentence, I make the two O's look like eyeballs, and then I know the word is look.
Yes.
Like there's just weird things, and if it's either sometimes I circle a word because I keep forgetting it, and so I do but I do things and mark it and make it visual because I'm sort of visual in my mind about the line, and I can almost see where the line is on the page in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I picked up on that.
Oh, okay.
That's a you thing that I stole,
Good.
and then you looked
Share
at me,
it.
I guess. And we're like, how are you doing that?
Yes. I mean, I eventually got into a rhythm, but that first season was really, really hard. And I think the one where the tornado comes and throws the dishwasher or whatever
That's the
in
episode
the front
2.
yard.
Yeah.
It's episode 2, and I had a huge speech.
Well, it's
In
funny
the
you mentioned
basement.
we mentioned we're in the time machine right now. We've already reviewed that episode, but like something you mentioned about like that whole speech, we were talking about like you are at your wit's end, but you never jumped going full circle genre.
Yeah.
You were so funny when you're at your wit's end, but like that whole paragraph, I could only imagine on the page.
Yes.
It was something like this.
Yes, yeah, it was, and I don't know that I ever felt like I did it well enough, like because I wasn't relaxed enough because it was so early in the season that I was just like.
I giggled.
Okay, good. You're supposed to guffaw, but I'll take the giggle. One episode where I did complain, and I think Lee was probably directing. I think I complained to Lee. I complained to Eileen and said, "It's just, you guys. I mean, I'll do it, but I'm just wiped. It was too many." Oh, and there was this one time when I had like 6 speeches in one day, big stuff, and I'm like, I can only memorize 5 of these, and this 6th one I'm going to have to. I can't even look at it, and they'll just have to wait for me to memorize it. And I remember it was with Atticus, and it was in the kitchen, and I didn't know it at all. And I'm like, you guys are just going to have to give me a minute I don't know this scene. And I never, ever, ever do that. And I thought, I'm going to try that because I don't have any other choice. And they were like, okay. But instead of the crew going away, they all just kind of sat there.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like trying to memorize it, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, Atticus, could you just run these with me? Just run these with me. And he kept, thankfully, he was so sweet, and he kept running them with me. And I was trying to put the business and the blocking together, and it was so horrible. And I had to keep saying line, 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 and picking up. And I thought, okay, I just can't do that. There are actors that can come in and they don't care, and they don't care if they know their lines. They're going to just try to get through it. And I just can't do it. I can't do that. It's too hard. It's too embarrassing. I feel like I'm wasting people's time. And that's why I complained, because I was like, because I don't want to have to do it that way.
Right.
No.
So I want them to be able to, I want to be able to show up and be professional and all that stuff.
Well, and I'm
And you
sure that's
did.
also, yes, you absolutely did.
Yeah.
And that's probably very respected from like a producer standpoint, which is, a big transition you've been taking, especially now, post-middle. You've really kind of found that stride as a producer as well. What are those things that you've taken from your career as an actress that you're also kind of bringing, or to bring as a producer? What's that transition like?
Well, Dave and I produced a movie called Unexpected, which was on Amazon Prime. Now you can get it with Anna Camp and Joe Mazzello and Neil.
Yes.
Neil Flynn is in it, yes. And one thing I remember as a producer was like trying to get the actors out of their trailer. And when I'm paying for it, I'm like, where are they?
Right.
And I think, and I remember like who was our second that would come in and pop their head in and say, "Are you ready?" Maybe
Mark,
it was on
Colleen?
Yeah, maybe it was on
Ken.
it was on Carol though. Maybe it was on Carol's, and I would be like, I'm an old woman. It takes a minute. Give me some time. We'll let you know when I'm ready. It was usually just joking, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember then waiting for the actors on this movie set. And they were not problematic at all. But we're on a clock and we've got a financial thing here. Yeah. We can't go over. And I remember just thinking, get them out here. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually called one of the seconds. I can't remember which show it was from, and just said, okay, I am waiting for the actors to come out of the trailer here in Oklahoma. And I just want to apologize to you for giving you crap about me getting out of my trailer. And she was laughing. It was so funny. So yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the things I learned. And I'll have to say, I loved being on the other side of the camera. I loved it so much. And I think it made me realize, I don't know if you guys feel this about acting, but it's something you're driven to do. You keep wanting to, you want to nail that audition. You want to get that job, and then you have to do it.
Right.
And it's like, you're not going to sleep for a week or however many weeks you're working, because you're going to be working on lines. And even when your life is more balanced with the kids and stuff, it's still like, oh my God, why do I do this? It's like, it's a little bit of torture. I feel it's sort of torture. The process is torture. And I'm working on Frasier right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and there's not a lot of rehearsal there.
Really?
No,
Wow.
almost no.
Oh,
You
wow,
run
even
it
though it's
through
multi.
one time, yeah, and then you go home. Like, it's nice because you're home by 2:00. 3
Right.
o'clock. But then you have to show up and do it. And it's that
Right.
same thing where I'm connecting my lines to my blocking and business. And I'm like that weirdo actor who's never done anything before, and while everybody's at lunch, you're on the set, like, memorizing.
Yeah.
I don't do that now.
Yeah.
After 30-some years,
Yeah.
I go on the set when nobody's there, and I go over my blocking and stuff to try to get it in my head.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when the audience comes in, a lot of it will go out because the energy has changed and it's heightened, and your body's working differently, your adrenaline's running, and so it does stuff to your brain. And
Well, that's probably why you've been so prolific in this industry, is because you have that work ethic.
It's fear. I don't know if it's a work ethic. It's fear and vanity, because I want to be the best one in the show. And I don't want to make any mistakes. And I just want everyone to think I'm the greatest thing. And I want to get lots of laughs.
Well, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for
This was
having
so
me on.
much
I have
fun.
like 85 more questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
that
well,
we
we'll just bring me back.
Yeah.
And
Have
we can
to.
do it, we don't have to do it in person next time.
Oh, this was so
We
nice.
can
though.
Zoom it, but this was really nice.
No, this
No,
was
I
so
loved
fun
it.
to
See you guys
see.
in person.
Yeah.
Well, we love that it all happened.
Yes.
You're here at shooting Frasier. You usually live in Nashville, so we had to jump at the opportunity in
Yes,
person.
yeah, that's fantastic. And if it's too long, which I'm sure this is, if you want to get people to subscribe, you give them that.
That is
we
what
have
we're
a
doing.
whole.
We
have a whole
the-
plan.
I'm
You have a
scratching
whole
my
plan?
producer brain as we do this.
Okay.
So for those listening, you've listened to just the tiniest little bit with Patricia Heaton. If you want to listen to the full-blown episode, you can go to patreon.com/middlingpod or download the Patreon app and search.
Middling Pod.
Yes, there you go.
That's my kids.
And before you go, we have a listener question. This one comes from Rav on Instagram.
Rav or Rav, I'm not sure. I've met, I think it's Rav. I don't know. R-A-V.
Rav, I'm so sorry. This is my public apology. I apologize for messing up your name.
I might not. He might be listening and being like, no, it's Rav. You dumb. You say Rav, I'll say Rav. Now our bases are covered.
Okay, great.
Rav asks, since Patty was attached as the lead, did the show get greenlit even before the pilot was made for a certain number of episodes, like an 8-episode guarantee or something like that? No.
So basically what happened with this was no. I mean, there are a lot of instances when having a big superstar attached to it can greenlight it, but this was a super simple case where they got a really big name for the pilot, and then it went through the normal pilot process that most shows go through. You shoot it, the network decides if they say yes or no, and then when you guys got the pickup in April or May of 2009, they picked you up for 12 episodes, and then it was after the second episode aired, I believe, that you got the full series order of 24 episodes.
But for instance, like Patty's next series, Carol's Second Act, went on CBS. That was a straight to series show. And that made a little bit
cool.
Yeah, it made more sense, or that again made sense because she wasn't just coming off of Raymond. It was like, oh, you have 2 syndicated sitcoms now. Maybe there's something there.
Well, Eden, this was a blast. This was so much fun.
This was so much fun. And my kids are still napping, so I get to go up and just be on my phone for 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? A little Instagram?
I'm going to go, yes, I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to go to our Patreon.
Oh,
Where are you?
I might go to Patreon too. Maybe I might go to patreon.com/middlingpod, or, maybe I'll download the Patreon app and just search Middling with Eden and Brock. That might be a great use of my time, and your time, listeners, as well.
If you didn't catch that, go to Patreon right now, patreon.com/middlingpod, or download the Patreon app and search for Middling with Eden and Brock. Is that clear enough?
That is so clear. We have so many fun things planned for you. We have 3 different tiers, whatever your budget consists of. The first tier, it's $5 a month. It's called the Spudsies Special. So you get full extended audio episodes of our podcast. So like I said, our interview with Patty, you just listened to about like 20 minutes of it. We have a full entire hour interview with her. So if you subscribe to the $5 a month tier, the Spudsies Special, you get the entire interview with Patty. And then in our $10 tier, called the Bosco bonus, you get video. So you get everything from the first tier, which is the Spudsy Special, and then you also get video of those extended episodes. So if you miss seeing our faces every week on your screen, this is the one you want to do. And I have to say, Eden's skin is glowing these days. I don't know what cocktail she's buying at Sephora, but it's working and you're going to want to see it. And then finally and lastly, we have the $12 tier. That's the Ellerts exclusive. Now that's my favorite tier and it's by far your best deal. So as expected, you get everything from the Spudsy Special tier, everything from the Bosco bonus tier, and then you also get an exclusive invite once a month in this $12 tier, the Ellerts exclusive, to a live watch party with Eden and I. So once a month, Eden and I, we're going to be together. We're going to live watch one of the episodes of The Middle with a special guest. And honey, you're also on the guest list. So you get to have the opportunity to ask us questions, interact with us. You're watching along with us. We have some really, really fun things planned for our first one, which is at the end of August, and a very special guest that we're going to announce a little bit later. So that's the Ellerts exclusive for $12 a month.
Next week, we will be back with a brand new episode. Not brand new episode of The Middle, that has already aired, but a brand new episode of our podcast. We will be breaking down episode 102, an episode that has very much aired in the way, way past, called The Cheerleader.
And next week, we will also be talking to The Middle's casting director. He cast every single episode from the pilot to the finale. He has honestly done so many things for our careers. One of the funniest people I know. I haven't seen him in years. So excited to talk to him. G. Charles Wright.
So, Brock,
Me
I love
too.
you so much.
I love you so much. I'll see you next week.